We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I speak from the role of a patient, and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other host, Michelle Harvey. I'm Mason's mom, and I speak in the role of a caregiver. And today's topic is inspired by true life events.
Yes.
So it's actually a very important topic for IBD patients and for other groups of people as well. This isn't just something that is important for IBD.
Crohn's disease, yeah, it's for.
But I think it's important to call attention to it because I think a lot of people don't realize that it can be a part of Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Yeah. So I think it's very important to talk about. And what we're going to be talking about today is bone loss. And we're going to discuss a DEXA scan, what that is. And that's something Mason had a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Wasn't
and
that bad?
Yeah, he can actually, what we can do, because some of you listening, your kids might be having to have this done, or you yourself might, and you're like, what is this? What do they do? Scan? So why don't you tell them, was it painful? Was it easy? What was it?
It's not painful at all. There's nothing about it that would be painful unless there's, the only thing that might be painful is they have to get certain scans, so they might have to have you hold a certain position, and if you don't like that position, it might hurt, but
like maybe if you have an injury or something, but
like if you have a sore joint or something like that.
But it's not.
But it's not painful other than that.
He was very relaxed. Yeah. In fact, it looked like he fell asleep.
Yeah, it was actually relaxing, the noise of it is...
It's much more quiet, not like an MRI,
the
not
MRIs,
like a CAT scan.
And another difference is the MRIs go all the way around you. CAT scans go around you. Mm-hmm. This, you're just on a board, and the board moves back and forth, and the thing goes over you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was something that I don't think you were super worried about because you had them before. This was his third one since his diagnosis in 2020. So it is actually an important test. And I don't know how many of you have had these done or how many of your doctors have ordered them. There's something called osteoporosis out there that has to do with bone loss, and it affects a lot of people. And a lot of people don't realize that it also affects people with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And it's something that is silent. It can sneak up on you. Don't know. Like you can look at somebody and say, wow, your bones,
my bones look
right.
awfully
you may have some symptoms of things, but overall it's not something you can see, and it can sneak up on you.
Again, it's like an invisible disease.
Yeah. And so we're going to go more into that. But let's first of all, I want to give you a few statistics from the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation from their website. So it does say bone loss is a common problem. It affects 30 to 60% of people with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So it can occur it can occur with IBD at any age, and can typically occur without symptoms.
Interesting.
So the symptoms may start once the bone becomes so soft that it breaks or fractures.
Yeah,
so
you don't want to get to that point.
No, and some of you may have, if you are older in age, or certain women at a certain age, if you have broken a bone, they may request a DEXA scan to see how your bone density is. So you may have had these also. But with IBD, it's important to monitor this because there's also, steroids are another factor here. Steroids can increase your risk for bone loss.
That's interesting.
It is. And it's something that's important because a lot of people in the past relied on steroids before, like biologics. And, there was a lot of heavy steroid use. And
that's not good.
No. And you even were on them for quite a while as well. But not even as long as some people have been.
Because some people can't, the biologics don't work for them.
Right.
So they have to use steroids to treat it.
Right. And of course, it is important to discuss these things with your doctor, see what your risk factors are.
Well, we're not doctors. We're
right. This is something that's on the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, but it's also inflammation from the body can also do this. So it may not necessarily be steroids. It could also be inflammation. So very interesting. So this is why this is an important topic, because it's going to affect, maybe a few of our listeners, you may already have this or have experienced this. And the reason this came up is because, like we mentioned, Mesa had a DEXA scan.
Yes.
He had one originally in 2020, and it did show his bones were not in great shape, which made sense at the time because it was uncontrolled inflammation.
I
But
was but still, I was having symptoms, and I
yeah,
was still very sick because
but it
my
made
kid was
sense.
walking.
It made sense because the disease wasn't under control.
No.
2 years later, he had another one. It was perfect. He was in normal range. We were thrilled because that meant that everything was working correctly and he was gaining more bone growth.
Which is
So that was great. And then we ended up having one again because it's been 2 years since his last one. And this was not even on my radar of things to worry about for you. I was like, not concerned. They also did a bone growth or the growth plate. They checked your growth plates. Yeah. So that was one of the things they were checking. That was actually our main concern to see if they had closed or not. And then they followed up with the DEXA, but I thought, okay, since he's doing great, everything's looking even better than 2 years ago. This isn't something I need to really be concerned with, but we'll have it done because we should, just to maintain that. And then we got the results back, and it was unfortunate. And so it was the lowest score you could receive for your bone density. And
I'm in remission.
Yeah. And I think that was a real shock because that was unexpected. And I think it's so important to talk about this because some of you have kids that are playing sports, contact sports that could possibly end up in fractures or have some incidents. So I think it's important, especially if you have a child with this disease that's playing sports. I mean, for multiple reasons, you should have this checked, but it's important because you wouldn't know. And you don't want
to have at all.
No. So I think this is something important to call to attention and get that checked. Make that call. Super easy to do. Talk to your doctor, see if they think you should have one or your child. And
so interesting how you can be doing so well.
Yeah.
But something that was better when you were doing worse.
Yeah,
it's now worse again while you're better.
It's frustrating. And I asked the doctor, I said, okay, so because what happened is so any of you who have my chart or, whatever you might have that you use for your medical team, which if any of you guys know about this, they'll release results to you without the doctor commenting. So sometimes you get results and you have questions and you can't find out until the doctor reviews them. So when we got this, the doctor who reviewed Mason's scans had let us know that about the poor quality, and then the word osteoporosis was mentioned, and I was like,
oh
yeah, he was like, oh my gosh,
that's
and
not good.
Yeah, and this is all open knowledge to Mason. He has his own MyChart account. He is also responsible for checking on messages and checking on these results. So this is something that was discussed. But I had a lot of questions, and luckily his doctor said they're not going to categorize it as osteoporosis right now because of his age, because he has the chance to regrow and gain more bone.
That's good.
Right. I think that's the good news about it. So I think, and we're going to be seeing an endocrinologist as well. Has to do with your growth plates too. So we're going to get more questions answered and hopefully, figure this out. But now he's on some a new little
calcium
regimen here. Yeah. And some physical therapy, which is like weight bearing exercises, running, so stuff like that. So the main reason for Mason's diagnosis here was they believe it's the overall inflammation from Crohn's disease. So that is what they believe is causing it. And so it's good to know because a lot of you out there with this may not realize that this is a thing. And you may think, hey, my kid's doing great. I don't need to worry about it. Well, maybe you don't. And maybe you should just get these scans every couple of years just to be safe.
Sure, just to be sure.
Yeah.
Safe.
So that way you can be proactive. If you do get the results, you can start doing things and taking measures. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's start and explain, first of all, some of you are like, what is a DEXA scan? Some of you may know what these are. Some of you may have these. Some may not still know what it is. But it is and I'll let you. Do you want to read this? Because you just practice saying this word for everybody. So I'm going to
no. Well, this is going well because I already forgot. Well, okay. So a DEXA scan is a screening to find bone loss and is done with a study called a dual energy X-ray Absorptiometry.
Absorptiometry.
Absorptiometry. Okay.
Absorptiometry. Yeah.
Absorptiometry.
Yeah. So dual energy X-ray
Mhm.
absorptiometry, DEXA,
Okay.
DEXA. So that's why we call
Thankfully,
it.
we have to say DEXA instead of whatever that is.
Yeah. And so since it's measured through that, they call it, it's a DXA or DEXA is what they usually refer to as. So you pronounce it as DEXA.
Hmm.
And it's a scan of the hips or spine. And so that's why they have you do all the table moves, and they have you not move for like 5 minutes. And so
That's why it's so relaxing.
they measure it, I think is what she had done. The technician had come out to us during this. And remember, she had mentioned you must have grown a lot because she was trying to line up his scan to his previous year. That's what they try to do. And she was
To make sure
saying he had
everything
grown
lines
so
up.
much, it was totally different, so it was pretty cool.
Mhm.
So if the thinning of bones is found, then your doctor will start therapy to prevent further bone loss, which is where we are at.
Thankfully.
And two of the words that could be associated with this test, which is one of the ones we heard, and that's one that sent me into a Google frenzy trying to figure it out and looking up everything I could about it. But they will include terms. One of the terms might be osteopenia, which is a mild weakening of the bones, or osteoporosis, which is significantly weakened and fragile bones. So those are the stages after like normal. If you get normal and if you get below average results, those are something you may see on there. Then your doctor may talk to you about. And so basically, this test, it determines the hardness of a patient's bones.
It does that. So cool.
Yeah. So I know it's pretty neat that it can painlessly do that for you. It's very nice to have a test that
Thank
is
God it's
painless.
something painless.
It doesn't require prep or anything like that, right?
Yeah, it's just go in, get it scanned. There's no prep. There's no pains.
Yeah.
It's just DEXA.
And it says it's like we mentioned, particularly the lower back and hips. And the thing that you're next going to receive is a score on this. And this is where when I started, this is why we wanted to bring this to you, because this is when I started like looking this up. I was looking because Mason received a Z score. But when I was looking up there, it kept talking about T scores. And I'm like, what is the difference between a T and a Z score? And so I think these are things that might help you guys. And so we looked these up on a few different sites, medical sites, and I will include those links for you guys so you guys can do your own research. But I wanted to help look some of this up for you guys and let you know. And so that way it might make a little more sense. You can also talk to your doctor, of course, but if you get my chart results like we do and they have no one to talk to over a weekend, then this may help you. So you're going to receive something called a T-score or a Z-score. T-score is a comparison of the patient's bone density with healthy young individuals of the same sex. So it's going to compare those. A negative T-score, so if you get a negative 2.5 or less, like kind of the definition of osteoporosis. That's kind of the level you're looking at. Of course, there can be variations with this. This is just what this site is discussing. And, they're going to look at other factors as well.
And this site will be linked.
It will be linked. Yes. So you guys can look this up.
So if there's something you want to find out, it's going to be there.
You can do further research. And a Z score, which is what Mason received, is a comparison with the bone density of people of the same age and sex as the patient. So a negative Z score of negative 2.5 or less should raise suspicion of a secondary cause of osteoporosis. And so that's where you are at. And obviously, we didn't just have like a DEXA scan and he hadn't been diagnosed with something. If we'd had this and he didn't have IBD diagnosis, it'd be like, okay, what's causing this? What's going on? So for us, it was like, okay, this result coupled with Crohn's made sense, made unfortunate sense, but it made sense.
But made sense nevertheless.
Yeah. So that would be that secondary cause. If you're a premenopausal woman or a man younger than the age of 50, your bone mineral density test result will be a Z score. So Z scores are also used for children. So a Z score is going to be for different age groups, where the T score is going to be for a whole nother age group. So yeah. And so I think we can talk a little bit more about what does a T score mean and what does a Z score mean. We kind of mentioned very quickly, just wrapped it up for you guys, but let's give you guys some numbers just to, to help.
Doctor, science, whatever it is.
Yeah. If you have a -1 or higher, this is a T score, okay, then your bone is healthy. -1 to -2.5 could mean you have osteopenia, which is the less severe form of low bone mineral density than osteoporosis. So still a diagnosis that you could start, is important to know if you're in that range and if you can start doing something to prevent it before it gets to the next one, which is a negative 2.5 or lower, that could mean osteoporosis.
Why do they choose negatives?
I think they're just saying because that's like the minimum. So a negative one or higher would mean it's healthy. So it would just show different readings. So I guess if you had like, it's a good question, but I believe like if you're negative one, you're healthy, but maybe
just a little.
you should start taking some supplements. Again, not us telling you to do that.
No,
Your
Talk to
doctor,
your doctor. Remember,
your doctor will more than likely explain this to you and tell you what you can take.
We're not doctors. We're not scientists.
And so what it means with the scoring is the risk of broken bones increases by 1.5 to 2 times with each 1-point drop in the T-score. So that's substantial.
Yep.
And that's why it's important for you to know this. There was recommendations for Mason, like if he's going to ride a bike and, the protective gear he should be wearing.
Helmet, arm,
and still be
straps.
careful. Yeah. And I think wrist guards, they had the, all that stuff. So he should be.
So you can pull out on your bike looking all.
Bubble wrap.
Yeah, bubble wrap. Yeah, it works too, I guess.
We're going to wrap you all up.
But then you can't use the handlebars because your arms are.
Yeah.
Bubble wrapped
but
down.
It's like we're joking, but at the same time, it's serious. It is something that is important for us to know. So let's discuss more about a Z-score. So if your Z-score is negative 2.0 or less, your bone mineral density is low. The score can mean that you have osteoporosis caused by medications or other diseases and conditions.
Interesting.
So that's where you fall in.
Okay.
Osteoporosis, like we mentioned, is a silent disease. In its early stages, no symptoms. You're not going to know. Usually often diagnosed after a fracture occurs. That's in a normal person, because why else would a normal person be getting a DEXA, or why would a kid be doing that? You're getting it because you do have that secondary diagnosis.
Yeah. So I'm always going to be going in,
Right. So we know to look out for with you. But most people you might find out after a fracture. And some of the warning signs, and again, I'm going to include the links so you guys can look through all this as well, is that you may have a loss of height. I think
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. Spine curvature, and that could be due to bone loss, back pain, or history of fracture as an adult. And so those are some of the warning signs. And so it's one of these that was interesting. I made a note of it here. Your bones are continuously changing. So the new bone is made and old bone is broken down. So for you, though, at your age, your body's going to make new bone faster than it breaks down old bone. So your bone mass has a chance to increase. And so that's, I thought I'd copied that down because I thought that was interesting. So most people reach their peak bone mass around the age of 30.
So it's still growing around 30.
Right. I mean, probably younger is better.
Yeah, it's obviously the younger.
Right. You're having more growth, but that's about where you reach your peak bone mass. And after that, it continues that process of breaking down and increasing it
cancels each other out.
But you start to lose slightly more bone mass than you gain after that age. So that's why.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah. But it's, that's why it's important to know these things. So you're doing all the right things, Mason. And you are taking, and even it's important for someone like me to know, for anybody listening, really, because how many of us realize that after the age of 30 that this is happening?
I wonder, because I guess I know that you're not gaining bone mass after 30-ish or so, but if you took if you took something like calcium, would that slow down?
Well, calcium is always good to take. So like for Mason right now, he's taking vitamin D, he's taking calcium, and those are the two things and you're drinking 16 ounces of milk a day.
Yeah.
And you're also doing a supplemental drink. So you're doing all the right things to
make it encourage
that. Yeah. Right. In addition to the exercise that we've started doing the different things for you to make sure you're doing that as well. So it's not to say that you're not going to grow new bone. It just, you lose slightly more bone mass than you gain after the age of 30. So it kind of reverses, up until that point, it's you can get ahead of it.
The graph starts to even out and then go back down.
And so the higher your peak bone mass, the more bone you have, basically, like they said, in the bank that you're storing.
The bone bank.
Yeah. So that is helpful to have. And so Mason has time to work on this. And so that's the good news.
It's better finding it out now than like being 30.
Yeah.
Oh well, that stinks for me then.
Right. And so that's why I think this is why I'm like, hey, we need to talk about this because a lot of you listening may be on that cusp. And if you have IBD, it's especially important to have these conversations with your doctor. I'm hoping your doctor already has had these conversations with you. But if not, these are important questions to bring up and
Definitely.
to discuss. And so one of the things, so we're going to talk about it. I kind of just touched upon it about some of the things you can do to keep your bones healthy. I really don't want to go into too much detail on this because I feel like this is really important for you to discuss with your doctor.
Different for everybody.
Yeah, I think that it is, at any time that you're going to start taking something or doing something,
You should always consult with your doctor.
yes, because, one of the things like with Mason was recommended was running. However, for some people with this, running can cause fractures that could be even worse. So not everybody's going to be given the same, so these are just like, what I'm giving you is like an umbrella terms that we found that I'm going to give you. It was from the Mayo Clinic and I'm going to include them, but I also want to make sure you guys speak with your own medical team and figure out what's best for you. Cause this is important stuff. Your bones are important.
Yes, they're very important.
Together, they're holding you up, guys.
If you didn't have your bones,
yeah, like important stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they recommend is to include plenty of calcium in your diet. So they have the recommendations. I won't go into it. You can look online and see what the recommendations are, but calcium is very important. You can get this whether, through dairy products, through your diet. Some of the things they recommended was almonds, broccoli, kale, canned salmon with bones. Like what? I was like,
with bones. You're eating the bones.
I didn't even know they made that.
Yeah.
Like I know about fresh salmon or frozen salmon. This says sardines and soy products like tofu. So so those are all high calcium. You can take supplements. You can have drinks with this in it. So anyways, that was one of the recommendations from the Mayo Clinic. But that's why I say it's important to talk to your doctor and figure this out. Pay attention to vitamin D, which you've been taking your vitamin D supplements. So you would have been doing that. Do you know why? It says it right there. I don't know if you saw it yet. So I was going to see if you can guess. Do you know why vitamin D? You know how you're taking calcium?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did I tell you about the calcium? What does it include? Do you remember what other vitamin it includes?
Vitamin D, right?
It does.
Okay, cool.
So he used to take vitamin D every day. He's been doing it since his diagnosis. And I noticed, I was like, why does all the calcium come with vitamin D? That's really cool. Well, it must be because it's a bone health thing. And so they're like, figure, well, if you need one, you need this one.
Maybe they both kind of include each other.
So one of the things it said is your body needs vitamin D to absorb calcium.
Oh, is that why they say, I don't know if I'm just making something up in my mind right now that I think I've heard.
Make it a
but you're supposed to drink orange juice with iron?
Yes. Yes.
There's something to do with iron. To absorb it.
We didn't have you take dairy with it because dairy isn't helpful to absorption with the iron. So we had you take your iron with something that was like orange juice, something like that. So yes. So there are ways. I mean, you could just take calcium, but if you want to get the best chances of your body absorbing it correctly, it needs vitamin D. So you got to, so it's interesting. All these things, that's why if you eat really well and eat really healthy and
have a very balanced diet.
Balances each other, right? It's literally balance. It's so interesting.
If you have a balanced diet, they literally do mean a balanced diet.
I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, so that's important to know. So that's why most calcium you're going to get is going to come with vitamin D. And so good sources of vitamin D, this is what they recommended. Again, their recommendations, talk to your own dietitian, your own doctors, but what they recommended, things like oily fish, such as salmon, trout, whitefish, and tuna. They have mushrooms, eggs, and fortified foods that are like milk and cereals that have a good source of vitamin D in them. Also, sunlight, but again, too much
it causes a sunburn,
right? And then that causes
everything in moderation.
So again, moderation, talking to your own doctor. But sunlight contributes to the body's production of vitamin D. So basically, if you're worried that you're not getting enough of any of these, you need to ask your doctor about that and find out if this is something you should be taking, because it's also not good if you already get enough. You don't want to overdose it, right? I don't think that's
moderation.
Yeah. And then one of the other things they recommended was to include physical activity in your daily routine. So that would be like weight-bearing exercises. Okay. So that's why walking, jogging, climbing stairs, those kind of things, because you're on your feet. This is what I had read because I was looking up different exercises for you. So you want to look for things that can help your bones grow
Oh,
and to slow that bone loss.
yes.
And so
Remember, don't work out too hard. Like,
that's why you're supposed to talk to your doctor,
yes.
because some of these things, maybe where you're at with your bone loss, you should not be running. And maybe walking is, that
Walking
should
and
be.
taking a bunch of vitamins.
Yeah. So it's important to talk to somebody before you start this and you think, I'm just gonna go out there and start doing this, and to always consult with your
Doctor
your
first.
doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also avoid substance abuse.
Which
First
this
thing
should
it
be taken
says,
for everyone, even without Crohn's.
right, if for a healthy lifestyle, not a good
Avoid
idea, guys.
substance.
But right away it says, don't smoke.
That's good.
First thing.
First thing, don't smoke.
Okay, simple enough, guys. Don't do it. If it's already a bad habit, look into seeing what you can do to break it. It's just going to be better for your overall health, especially with IBD, guys. So, anyways, that's what that recommends. And it says, I think this was interesting because it says if you are a woman, avoid drinking more than one alcoholic drink each day. If you're a man, avoid drinking more than two alcoholic drinks a day. Yeah. So that's basically what it says. So that's kind of in a nutshell. We just wanted to kind of discuss, the bone density loss with IBD.
Or if you're a man or a woman, just don't drink at all.
Yeah, there you go.
Alcohol.
Just avoid it.
No,
yeah.
You can drink water still.
Yeah, just avoid alcohol. But I think this was an important topic today, and I really wanted Mason to just let you know the DEXA scan, how easy it was. So not to stress about it. Yeah. And it's just a preventative test that can help you guys determine and live a lifestyle that will work and help you guys out. And so if you haven't had one, talk to your doctor, see if you are someone that is eligible for this kind of test, if they think this is something you should have. It's important to
always make sure.
Yeah. Just to make sure. And especially again, like, what if Mason was playing tackle football? What if that's something he likes golf.
There's a reason we're playing golf and not football.
Right. Like, thankfully, this new little diagnosis with him didn't affect
anything.
His sports, because he likes golf.
It's a graceful sport unless
it's a great one.
Someone has issues and they miss the hole.
It's very generational. It goes over many different ages. So it's it's a great sport. So thankfully for him, but if he was, and even if you think your child's doing great and they're in remission, I think it's good to monitor it. So that would just be
sure.
Yeah, my take as a parent, but hopefully this helped you guys. Hopefully you've learned something today and was of interest to you. Anyways, hope you guys are doing well. We are heading into December here.
Yes.
And
the most wonderful time of the year, actually.
Yeah, I know. He had his hat that didn't work with the headphones very well.
Good enough.
So he started wearing that in November, and there you go.
It's November it's been Christmas ever since November 1st.
Yeah, that's how it's been here.
Had a merry turkey.
Yeah. We had our Thanksgiving with our family, got together, and now we're just heading into the holidays. We have on Tuesday, actually this week, we are going to a volunteer appreciation event for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, and we were asked to donate cookies.
Who thought that would happen, yo?
I know. We just handed out all of our cookies and ended the snack drive for the blood bank. That went really well. And then we were asked to do this. And then they asked also if we could make some, gluten-friendly cookies and some. So that's been a challenge, making sure. So we're trying to make something for everybody at this event. And so, so we'll be able to update you guys with how that went. And we had a meeting with a therapeutic company that we're going to be speaking at, and we'll be able to talk more about that after that event, which that'll be in the middle of December. So
I also got my Invisalign. If you can tell.
Big news. Yeah. So we talked about this. I think the last one you were going to have it the next time and see if you could tell. And there it is.
The one did giveaway is this is the most I can close my mouth.
Yeah. Right now they're moving stuff.
And so the Invisalign makes it look like there's a gap there, but they're hitting each other.
Yeah.
But they're clear, so you can't really see that.
Right. So it closes, but you're not seeing that. So it just looks, but overall,
weird.
So how would you rate Invisalign?
First.
So, okay. He's had one full week with one tray, and now he's on his second. So he changes his trays once a week. So you're a week and a day or so into this. So you're on your next tray. You're on your second tray.
A week and
2 days.
2 days, yes.
A week and 2 days, yeah.
I'd say the first 3 days are probably the hardest. The first week is definitely the hardest week because the first time I got the first tray and, getting it out, because you have to
Yeah,
take it out every time you have to eat.
hmm
That it was really painful because your teeth are going to be sensitive, and so taking out something that's been on your teeth for about the entire day,
Yeah.
to take off for dinner, you have to. So it's kind of sore, but it's not that bad. It's not terrible. It's doable.
You
But
had some
then,
Tylenol
yeah, I
and
had
that
some
took care
Tylenol,
of
and
it.
it
Yeah.
helped.
And that helped you.
And then about, I don't know, 5 days in for me, it became easier, just take it out.
Yeah.
Okay, put them back in. Easy as that. And then I was worried about the new tray because I was wondering, is it going to be like starting from one again? Because it's going to move. It's
Right.
going to
Right.
be a new position and stuff. But no, I can take it out. Obviously, they're still a little sensitive, but not to the extent they were the first week. So
Yeah. And
it's
you
great.
also talk okay with them.
Yeah, and I talk okay with them.
Very concerned that these might annoy him too. And so
I
far,
think what's nicer about these
Mhm.
is that they go around your teeth so well, right?
Yeah.
But
Custom fit.
yeah, but it's not like the retainer, which was a piece of metal
Yeah.
that went around, so you can feel it. With these, it just feels like your teeth, but smoother. So it's
Yeah.
not like there's anything there that's bothering me other than just the feeling that they're there. But
Yeah.
even that's not that bad. So
And for us, we thought this was a great alternative for somebody with Crohn's disease because if any of you get inflammation in your mouth or get
and you get
ulcers or
braces, and that's going to tear
yeah,
everything up.
so that might be difficult for you guys. So I thought, if we're gonna do this, let's get Invisalign so we make sure if he does have any issues or flares, that's one thing we don't have to worry about. So yeah, so that's why we went with the Invisalign, and I think it's pretty cool. They look good, and it's pretty neat that you can clean them with. We have an ultrasonic cleaner.
I have an ultrasonic cleaner. It's very interesting how it works.
Yeah, so you can get them extra clean. And so, yeah, so pretty cool. So once a week, he'll be doing this for the next year and a half. And I know maybe it'll go faster, maybe
Maybe
it'll take
faster,
longer. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we find out. I don't know a lot of
'cause if
people with Invisalign.
I mean, all right, 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if any of you guys are looking into it, Invisalign is a
Highly recommended.
yeah.
Patient approved, and
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive.
And check with your insurance because insurance also does help. They kick in and they helped with it. So this, I think, it was extremely fair price wise, and we're very happy so far with it. So we'll keep updating you as we go, and you'll get to watch Mason's progress.
Yeah, Mason's teeth
So,
grow.
yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us, just take our word for it. So.
Yeah, like he's wearing what? He's wearing what?
like-
No, they don't even know what's going on right now.
No, but anyways, guys, so you guys can continue to follow us on Team IB Determined at Instagram. You can see all the cookies. We made some intestine cookies. So I feel like this deserves its own show. I really do. It's like pretty fun, but that's me. I love baking and I love talking about cookies, but we won't do that to you guys. Don't worry.
Baking with Michelle.
I know we need like to yeah, if you guys want a baking with Michelle episode, let me know. I am more than happy to do that. Yeah, we can make them. Yeah. But they are literally, I'm gonna put a picture up for you guys when you're watching this. And if you aren't watching us on YouTube, go to our Instagram page because I'm gonna have pictures of this and you can see the intestine cookies.
I wonder if we can edit one into my hand right now. Am I holding one right now?
I know. I don't know if I'm that talented.
I might be holding nothing right now, but if you are able to edit it, I'm holding one right now and I just dropped it off screen.
We could have just brought one in too.
Oh, I could.
I know. I could have
editing
done that.
skills. We need funny little editing skills.
Yeah. But if you guys want to, you can see it on Instagram and you can also see us at the bridges. Again, Mason went golfing and a beautiful place in Rancho Santa Fe. Look it up because it's just an amazing golf course. And we're so fortunate to live so close to it. And so got to do that. And you'll see the pictures on there. And also the Reggie Project.
Very cool.
We need to, I keep saying this, we need to do an episode to get people to really, to really push this. I think it'd be very helpful for everybody. And again, if you guys are looking for candles for gifts, Carmentude Candles is on Instagram as well. And part of the proceeds from that go to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Making your Merry Christmas more merry.
Yeah, we'll do that. Put the Merry in Christmas.
Putting the Merry in your Christmas.
Or whatever you're celebrating. Yeah. Happy to help with Carmentude Candles.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you guys can also continue to listen to us on podcast stations such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music.
And more podcast stations will be linked to a link in Buzzsprout, and there's a lot more than that. And there's also YouTube podcasts now, which are still kind of a new thing. They're kind of getting on there.
But some of you are listening to us on there. So I have seen some of you are using YouTube podcasts. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
We're excited to hear that.
But if you do just want to watch us instead of just listening to us, you
See
can
Mason in his Santa hat
see
right now.
me in my Santa hat right now, or whatever,
And
the
the
Tesla
Invisalign.
cookies,
Yeah,
Invisalign,
all that good stuff.
all those great perks. You can go to the YouTube videos, and watch us and listen to us there. And if you are on YouTube podcast or videos, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a new video, because who wouldn't want to miss out on an episode of IBD Determined,
right?
hit that icon. Oh, hit the bell icon. My bad. Hit the
We
bell
can
icon.
like it too. Whatever.
It's like and subscribe and hit the bell. There we
There
go.
you go. There you go. It's all right. Do any of those things.
And have a holly jolly Christmas.
Just watch us and listen and enjoy, and hope this was helpful to you guys and you learned something. If there's anything else you'd like us to talk about, a diagnosis you guys received that we could bring attention to. Sometimes things with this disease are so unheard of, and it's like, wait, what? That's a thing with it? So important for us to keep educating you guys and give you questions to ask your doctors about. Thank you for listening, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks on the next episode.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to apply something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.